if we're being real, this isn't a surprise. It's one of those weird things where it's like there were enough people corroborating a story that that she is going around telling people in Iowa that she will not be back in college. She's leaving after the semester. Not leaving at the end of the year, she's leaving at the semester. That she's just done with the college.
That phrase right there, violation of rules, is doing a lot of heavy lifting. Because what we are seeing unfold at Iowa isn't just about one suspended player. Emily Rodriguez, the sophomore guard who transferred from Las Vegas, is currently on indefinite suspension and won't be making the trip to New York for the UConn game. But here is what makes this situation different from your typical team discipline issue. People have been talking about this for weeks before it became official. According to multiple sources around the Iowa program, Rodriguez has been telling people she is done with college basketball. Not at the end of the season, at the end of this semester. That is the kind of information that shouldn't be public knowledge, but in women's basketball right now, it absolutely is.
There was a sportsbook that the sportsbook what additionally encrypted comment means, I guess, wage or two proposition violation rules for feigning injury due to displeasure playing time or due to disrespectful interaction with coaching staff for the general same reason. And look, Emily Rodriguez has a lot of ability. Let's not ever question that. Like, there were flashes where she looked unbelievably good. Problem is, those flashes were against garbage teams. Transfer portal calling her name, Iowa standards. Did it really unfortunate? She was an important contributor and difference maker. She should have been. She was not an important contributor and difference maker. She should have been one. Heard some things.
So let us talk about what violation of rules actually means in this context, because the speculation around Iowa circles has been pretty specific. We are hearing reports about faking injuries to avoid practice time, disrespectful interactions with coaching staff, and a general unwillingness to buy into what Jan Jensen is building in Iowa City. These aren't vague character concerns. These are concrete behavioral issues that make it impossible for a coach to maintain team standards. And here is the thing about Emily Rodriguez. The talent has never been in question. When she was at Las Vegas, she showed flashes of being an important contributor at the high major level. There were games this season where she looked genuinely unbelievable. The problem? Those performances came against lower tier competition. When Iowa faced ranked opponents, those flashes disappeared.
Because, like, if an import player, a team's American, got injured, every single person in the country would know that. And people would just start putting mad money on the other team to win games. And it was at the stage where it was like, people go in with accumulators, which is like parlays. And I knew people that would. They made like in the thousands of euro by like basically putting parlays on, because they had insider information on every fucking team in the country because everyone just talks. It's that small thing where it's like, it's at the stage now in women's basketball. It's like people know, like there's random Twitter accounts, like players are hopping on spaces and they're in spaces, like random ass Twitter accounts are leaking where every single player is going to be transferring.
This gets to something bigger that is happening in women's college basketball right now. The information problem. In men's basketball, when a player has internal team issues, it usually stays internal until there is an official announcement. But in women's basketball, especially at the high major level, everybody knows everything before it happens. Random Twitter accounts were reporting that Aaliyah Boston was leaving the Indiana Fever for Phoenix weeks before it became official. After she missed just one game for personal reasons, anonymous accounts were already tweeting that she'd left the Fever for good 3 weeks before the official announcement. That is not normal. That is not how professional sports information management is supposed to work. The same thing happened with Rodriguez. Sources around Iowa have been corroborating the same story for weeks. She has been openly telling people in Iowa City that she won't be back after this semester, not transferring at the end of the year through the portal like most players do, but leaving mid-season after fall semester ends. That kind of information spreading creates an impossible situation for coaches trying to maintain team discipline.
Don't judge somebody by their actions at 20. Like, I have no doubt about it that she probably did break a rule, and the suspension is probably deserved. But I also have no doubt about it that she's a talent. And look, she's going to have 2 more years of college. She's going to have 2 more years of college to play, where she can get out of Iowa. And sometimes things don't work out. And at the end of the day, even if she is being unprofessional, even if she is being bad, if we were all judged by the decisions we made at 20 years old for the rest of our lives, geez, we'd all be fucked. We'd all be fucked. Like, even looking back on some of the shit that I tweeted when I was in my early, like 23, 24, I'm like, fuck.
Here is why that information problem matters, beyond just gossip and gambling. Most major sports books in Ireland won't even take bets on Irish basketball games anymore, because the information flow is so unrestricted that everyone knows which players are injured, which imports are dealing with personal issues, which teams have internal drama. When that information is public, people with insider knowledge can build parlays worth thousands of euros because they know outcomes before the bookies adjust the lines. We are starting to see the same thing with WNBA betting markets. When everyone knows a key player is dealing with team issues before it is officially announced, that creates a competitive advantage for bettors with connections. And as women's basketball continues to grow and betting markets expand, this information management problem is going to become a serious integrity issue. The Rodriguez situation is a perfect example. If you knew 3 weeks ago that she was telling people she is leaving mid-semester, you could reasonably predict she'd be suspended or removed from the rotation. That is actionable betting information that shouldn't be publicly available. But let us bring this back to Emily Rodriguez specifically, because there is an important perspective we need to maintain here. She is 20 years old, maybe 21 at the oldest, as a sophomore, and regardless of what rules she violated, regardless of whether this suspension is completely justified, and it probably is, we cannot judge someone's entire future by the decisions they make at. Think about the decisions you made at that age. Think about the professionalism you displayed, the maturity you had, the way you handled authority figures and workplace dynamics. Most of us would not want to be permanently defined by who we were at 20 years old. Rodriguez has legitimate talent. She was a contributor at Las Vegas, and she has the skill set to be a rotation player at a ranked program. The issue isn't her basketball ability, it is the maturity and professionalism required to maximize that ability at the highest level of college basketball. And those are things that can develop over time. Jan Jensen has made it clear that there is a path back to the team if Rodriguez recommits to Iowa standards. That is the right approach. You don't give up on a talented 20-year-old because of behavioral issues. You give them a clear framework for what needs to change and an opportunity to meet those standards. Will Rodriguez take that opportunity? Based on what sources are saying about her telling people she is done with college basketball, it seems unlikely, but that is a decision she has to make. And it is a decision that will significantly impact the next phase of her basketball career. Because here is the reality. Emily Rodriguez is not a WNBA prospect right now. Maybe she thinks she is, and maybe that is part of the problem. But if you can't maintain professionalism and team standards at Iowa, you are not ready for professional basketball. The WNBA is not more lenient than college programs. It is significantly more demanding. So where does this leave everyone involved? For Iowa, this is unfortunate, but manageable. They are not losing a player who is central to their rotation against quality opponents. Rodriguez's best games came against teams Iowa was going to beat regardless. Losing her hurts depth, but it doesn't fundamentally change what Jan Jensen is building in her first year as head coach. For Rodriguez, this is a crossroads moment. If she leaves Iowa mid-semester like sources suggest she is planning to, she'll enter the transfer portal with a suspension on her record and questions about her professionalism. She'll still find a landing spot. Talent always does. But the tier of program interested in her will be lower than it would have been if she'd handled this situation differently. The transfer portal will be calling her name. She has 2 more years of eligibility remaining. She could land at a mid-major program where she'd be the primary ball handler and have the opportunity to rebuild her reputation. Or she could take time away from basketball entirely, which might actually be the healthiest option if she is genuinely burned out on the college game. But here is what I hope happens. I hope that as Rodriguez gets older, as she gains perspective and maturity, she looks back on this moment as a learning experience rather than a defining failure. Because the decisions you make at 20 don't have to determine the trajectory of your entire life. People grow, people develop professionalism, people learn from mistakes. The talent is there, the basketball IQ is there, What needs to develop is the mental approach and the willingness to meet team standards even when it is difficult. Those are coachable qualities if the player is willing to be coached. Will Iowa be completely in the right here, based on everything we are hearing? Yes. When a player is faking injuries to avoid practice and being disrespectful to coaching staff, suspension is the appropriate response. You cannot maintain team culture if you allow that behavior to continue without consequences. Should Iowa have accommodated Rodriguez more? That is a harder question. Every player is different, and sometimes what looks like behavioral issues are actually signs of deeper struggles, mental health, adjustment challenges, family situations we don't know about. But at the end of the day, coaches have to make decisions based on the information they have and the standards they've established for the program. Jan Jensen gave Rodriguez an opportunity to be part of something special at Iowa. If Rodriguez wasn't ready for that opportunity or wasn't willing to meet the standards required, that is not on Jensen. That is a player decision. And hopefully, it is a decision that Rodriguez learns from as she figures out what comes next in her basketball career. The door isn't completely closed if Rodriguez has a change of heart, if she is willing to recommit to Iowa's standards and prove through actions that she is ready to be a reliable teammate. That path exists, but based on what sources are saying about her, telling people she is done with college basketball, it seems like she has already made her decision. So what do you think? Is Iowa handling this correctly by maintaining their standards and suspending Rodriguez? Or should they have found a way to accommodate a talented but struggling 20-year-old player? And if you were in Rodriguez's position right now, what would your next move be? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you found this analysis valuable, hit that subscribe button because we'll be following this story as it develops throughout the season.